On 1st March 1989, he joined the police, rising through the ranks to just second to the Inspector General of Police. He retired at the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police, serving in different capacities, including the Political Commissar of Police, the spokesperson of the police, and most importantly, the Interpol boss. On this episode, I host retired police officer Afande Asan Kasingye on the show. Afande, it's really an honor to have you on the Hard Questions show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Afande, let's start off from 1989. Perhaps your journey starts joining the Uganda Police. What inspired you to join the forces?
A lot of things. Let me say that growing up and studying, I didn't think about the police. In my book, The Chosen, I actually even talk about my first time in senior one at St. Kagwa High School, where students kind of rioted, and the police came, and without anything, we are not fighting, we are not doing anything, and they started shooting in the air. The police from Bushenyi. So as a young person, you grow up with, that kind of experience. But when I reached Makerere University, the course that I did, which was a Bachelor of Arts, Social Sciences, and I was doing political science and economics. By the time I finished, I had convinced myself that police would be my destination, because we had lots of people who were coming to talk to us in public lectures, in tutorial programs that we had. People from government, they would come and talk to us. You remember, I went to Makerere University in 1986. That is immediately after the war, and when the NRM government had come to power. So we had people who would come, talk to us about the prospects of joining government and which areas of government that they would want young graduates to come and join. And at that time, many police officers had left the police for various reasons. And you remember in 1986, the police had been reduced to 3,000, I think from 14,000.
Wow.
So there was need for many young people to join the police. So everybody that was coming would tell us that the sectors to join after university would be the Army, UPDF, that time it was NRA, the Uganda Police, the Uganda Prison Service, and the intelligence services. And I can tell you, half of the people who were doing our courses went into those sectors that I've talked about.
Wow, I'm really surprised by the way that you made your career decision even at university.
At the university, but one of my roommates, when I was finishing first year to second year, we had a crash program, so we studied when others had left the university. So those of us who were cut off from the West, we joined a crash program where I was studying day and night. So I stayed in a room with the Senior Commissioner of Police, retired, Namanya Benjamin. And he was in the third year when I was starting first year. So immediately after, he joined the police. So he used to come back to Livingston Hall.
And tell you this is the place to be,
and,
looks nice.
And I looked at him, I said, okay.
I think I want to join the forces.
Yes.
That's quite interesting.
Yes.
You then joined the police, rose through the ranks, headed Interpol, quite a big position at that time, and I think that's the time that I got to know you personally.
Yes.
And then, went to do different posts, including being the police spokesperson,
Yes.
the political commissar, and really rising through the ranks to Assistant Inspector General of Police. How would you describe your service and your tenure time in the Uganda Police Force?
I should say fulfilling, because I'm a person who, if I'm going to join something, even at a personal level, at just a relationship level with colleagues, and an idea is tossed, I'm one person who is going to very quickly go through it, and I say, yes, I want to belong there. So you're not going to catch me belonging to something that I've not thought about. So fulfilling because one of the reasons is that we were told what is expected of us, okay? We are told about this country. By the way, when I finished my course, I also went to Chankwanzi. That time it was called School of Political Education, SOPE. So I went to Chankwanzi, I did 3 months. After doing 3 months, then I added another month because I was retained there as an instructor. Okay, and then we had done interviews at Makerere University, and I was selected to go to the police. So I had to leave and then come and join the police. Now, all those encounters and all those, programs, I was convinced that I'm joining the police to put a brick to the nation building of this country. I joined the police because we had the history. We had the history, a very bad history. And who is going to change this? Very many people think that when a government goes, another government comes in. It must be the one who has taken over the government to change everything. It takes you and I. So we knew that we were going to be part of that process of building our country, of changing it, changing the human rights situation, changing the democracy where people have to choose who should lead them. But the other important thing they were, talking about, corruption within the institution, and people who didn't even measure to the standard of where the country is supposed to be. So they wanted educated people to be able to contribute to the different programs within the police. I perfectly saw myself as being part of that. Now, looking at where I am now, retired from the police, and I look back, I said, yeah, it's fulfilling. Because I didn't join a bandwagon where do this, do that, do this, do that. No, I joined an institution where I generated ideas, where I was part of the ideas, where I was part of implementation of ideas. And I think the police we found, I left it in and others in a better place.
Yeah, you joined police with a passion to change the situation was, and you came in to say, look, your vision was to push back against human rights abuses, corruption within the police. Let's get right there, and I think you mentioned about it. During your stay in the Uganda Police Force, there are honestly some things that you witnessed in your capacity, both as the Interpol boss, as the police spokesperson, as the head of Interpol, things that you disagreed with personally. I know, for example, that there were instances where you were supposed to defend police officers beating people and battering people. How was it like for you at that time, witnessing such things? And what was your response to some of those violations and gross things that we saw the police do?
Solomon, I said, first of all, my encounter with the police at St. Kagwa High School in Bushenyi, in my second week of joining Senior 1, after we had left a war, because the war was 1978, and I was sucked into that war as a young person. This story I elaborated very much in Chosen. And then, and then later, I joined the police. One thing that I can tell you is that I don't want to be part of anybody brutalizing anybody. I've served for 33 years, and I can tell you with a straight face, I never punched anyone. I was on an OC station, started as OCMCB, handling matters of people fighting, minor cases that would fit into investigations, and CID wouldn't be, going into that. We'd better leave them with the bigger cases, murder and all that, up to OC station. And then I started a program. The police at that time, in 1994, came up with a program called community policing. So I was chosen as the first officer to head the desk of community policing. It was just a desk at police headquarters. And my role was to go out to the communities and tell them that they needed to work with the police. And the communities were telling me straight to my face that they can't, they don't trust us, they don't believe in us, and they don't see any mutual benefit that accrues from their interaction with the police. Because we are corrupt, because we delay cases, because we detain people without, so many things. And here I was still a young person. And I was like, no, look here, we're changing. We're not going to be that. Anybody who does it, we are going to deal with him or her. And I gave them my word. And they trusted me. Solomon, they trusted me. I went into so many radio programs, so many TV programs. I was writing a strip in the New Vision. There was another paper in Entebbe called Marketplace. Actually, the person who was responsible for me was Adonia, Ambassador Adonia Ayebare. Marketplace in Entebbe. There's a gentleman called Kakwano, Ernest Kakwano, came up with that paper. And I was writing weekly strips, telling people what police is supposed to do and that kind of thing. So, in short, you become like the face of the police, okay? Now, if you do that, then you are going to be a perfect example of humility, of listening, talking less, hearing a lot, what people are saying, of accountability, going back to the communities and account on what happened, but also honesty, being able to say, we were wrong. We are wrong. I can tell you your comrades are not going to be happy when you are saying those things. But somebody had to say them. That, no, look here, so and so did this, it was not right, and we are going to act. Okay? And I don't regret that. And I know, before even we delve in this, there are some colleagues of mine who left who said, okay, let him go. He was saying a lot. But for me, I'm happy. I am very happy because that had to be done. So in short, it sometimes takes people who want to change institutions to be honest about where they are wrong and pursue where they are right. Yeah. And if you're wrong, then you can discuss, you discuss it, you say, gentlemen, ladies, look here. We are wrong here. How do we get out of this? And I think that is the way I was doing my work. It was not being a belligerent or that kind of thing. No, we would discuss these matters. Yeah. And then we say, this is how we are going to handle this situation. But the public must know that this kind of situation wasn't handled well.
Yeah, and some people within the forces have criticized you openly, sometimes privately, that you stand up and speak up and stand up to be counted against some things that you think are wrong, and you've expressed this even on your social media handles. Yes. Openly.
Yes. I am not one person who thinks that I am always right. There are very, very many things that we have agreed. There are many things that I thought I was right, and then my colleagues keep on telling me that, no, look here, this should be this, it shouldn't be this. But there are things that definitely are not going to augur well with the public, with the government, with the and definitely you have to take a stand. You have to take a stand and say, no, look, we can't do this. Okay? We can't do this. You have to be somebody who understands how an institution runs. You are in the police, and if you are going to say, no, this is wrong, you must therefore understand how the police work. what are the things that must be put in place and what are the things that should get out of the way? Look, I participated because of my positions that I had. I was a head of department, I was a head of a directorate, I was a member of the police council, I was a member of what we call the directors meet every week. I think it is every Wednesday, and then it's called PAC, that is Policy and Advisory Committee. You look at policies and you advise the Inspector General on what should be done. Okay, so I'm that one person who reads the ministerial statement. One time I was spokesman of the police. You just don't sit in front of people like Solomon and then you don't understand what the police stands for. So I would go through the policy, the ministerial policy statements. These are generated in Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. This is what we expect. I will go through when IGP was sitting in an interview to become IGP, what documents did he present that he was going to do? It is like his manifesto if he was a politician. Mm-hmm. He wants to achieve this at the end of his term. So what are you doing, you yourself? Because when he went there, he said, we are going to respect human rights. This is what he said. The policy statements of the minister saying the police are going to respect human rights. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda underscores human rights and requires me, in my position, to make sure there is no abuse of human rights. And now, when I stand before a camera and I am asked about that, then I'm stammering. Why don't you leave then? Why don't you leave? If you are going to stammer, why don't you leave? So, if you believe it is not right, the problem may be how you say it and where you say it, but it must be said through a proper system of saying it. Okay? And if the situation suits, because maybe most of the, I'll give you an example. Much as I'm not supposed to to say things that were, but I remember there was someone who was released from court, I think in Nakawa, and he's supposed to go home, and then he was rearrested with people I didn't understand. They were not in uniform. They were, that scenario, and I was asked, who are those people? I said, I don't know them. How can you not know them? So somebody was trying to ridicule me. How I don't know them. Then I said, how best do you want me to place it? When a police spokesman says, I don't know this, read beyond that. It means I cannot defend somebody who is doing that because it is not right. And no matter of, telling me that you must say it is this. Because, you see, look, if I say yes, I do know, then the question is, I ask very pertinent questions. Who are these people? I need to know them if I'm going to tell a story. What are their names? Are they our people here in the police? Because, Solomon, look here, you say, okay, this we know, but, I've left the police. You were going to ask me who those people were. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm trying to say that if a situation is not right, use the right procedures to say it is not right, okay? And we can put it right. So that is how, for me, I think that we need to serve Ugandans because we are there to serve Ugandans.
Yeah, and you stand up and say, this is not something that the police believes in. This is not what we're here to do. We're not here to beat people. And we don't believe in the aspect of just abducting people and they just disappear. And I mean, I've seen you quite strongly put out your statement in broad daylight without any fear. Do you believe that sometimes the police is used by external forces to push their agenda, especially those in the political space?
I'm one of those people who even thought that some members of the police are trying to do certain things to make the police look bad for their own personal aggrandizement, or I don't know why. If you are told go and arrest Serwanja and bring him to me, and you go to Serwanja and Serwanja says I'm here, take me. Why would you, between the point of arrest to the point of delivery, somebody is in bad shape? I was PRO when there was that issue of a mayor in Kamwenge.
Yes.
And I came to the media and I said, look here, we are to blame. We are the ones who arrested. We are the ones who delivered. We want to find out what happened in between. And some people had to be dismissed, had to be interdicted and investigated over that matter. Okay? So I am that one person who thinks that sometimes some people do not understand their job. Some people do not understand their mandate. Maybe some people do not even understand that to be a police officer, you need to, because you don't need to go to the gym to be a police officer. You don't need to go and put biceps here and, use your head. You use the law. Somebody's not fighting back. Arrest him. Take him where he's supposed to be taken. Someone is trained to interrogate that person. So they will interrogate. And they will get to the bottom of the matter. So why hit me? Because if we need people who can hit others, then we don't need to waste a lot of resources going to universities, getting people who had first class degrees, second upper, and bring them to the police, take them for 1 year training, take them abroad to courses in South Africa, in UK, in the US, and amass all these experiences. I'm one beneficiary. I don't know which state I didn't go to study. And after that, then you come, and then would just go in town and pick all these people who are building their bodies, kanyamas, and give them uniform. And then you say, if you catch somebody, take the living lights out of him.
With that, you come up like the police is made of professional forces, so professional people who have gone through the training. Yes.
So Solomon, I'm saying, I worked for 33 years and I finished, and I never had or get instruction from anyone in the government or anywhere that go and terrorize so-and-so. Never. Actually, the president called us several times. The last time I was in the police, he called us to State House. He called all directors, he called all commissioners, he called the Inspector General, who was represented by the late Lokech, who was Deputy Inspector General. He was our leader when we went there. And all RPCs, all commanders, all DPCs. And he took more than 2 hours telling us, why do you beat citizens? Why do you take money from citizens? Why do you shoot citizens? He even demonstrated on how a gun should be used, things that we are told. He even gave us a handbook on the proper use of a gun. The law, he just simplified it and put it in a book, and he gave it to us. He even said, do not shout. I remember his words very well. At State House in Entebbe, do not even shout to wananchi. That's what he said. Do not shout to wananchi. And then, After that, you go out, you do these things, and then you say it is the government. Which government? The head of state has said, do not beat anybody. Do not shout to anybody. Do not shoot anybody. Misuse of the gun. So people want to hide behind that and say, I'm working for the state in order to do something like that. That is wrong. You should be accountable for the actions you have done, you as a person. So that's why, for example, most of the time I go to my Twitter handle and X now, and I am vehement about this. I say that person who did that must account for why he did it. Don't blame the government, because I have never had an experience where somebody said, or we're in a meeting and we said, let's go and shoot people in the street.
Maybe we have an auxiliary chain of command within the forces that is not the main command.
I think sometimes you can have a breakdown of discipline. When you're talking about chain of command, for me, I understand chain of command in terms of discipline. Forces, disciplined forces, the way you enforce discipline is to have that chain of command. The chain of command is for enforcing discipline to perform a certain task. That's what the chain of command is all about. We have this, we are going to achieve this. However, the person in charge is Kasingye, he will be assisted by Serwanja, he will be assisted by so-and-so, and you are going to do it. I expect a report, this and this. That's the chain of command. If you don't go and also brief the people under you, and they do something that was not part of what you agreed to do. So for me, I say it is a breakdown of discipline. Somebody must be responsible for that, and somebody must account why some of his people went out of hand and did something. Do you remember COVID-19? During COVID-19, when we started from a wrong front. We saw some women carrying mangoes, being beaten, falling over, some shops being closed in a very, and then after like 2 days, we said, no, this is wrong. This is not what we agreed to do. Okay? So we had to go in media, in all these media houses. I was there, I'm telling you. And we are saying, no. Excuse us, this is not what we were supposed to do. You remember we arrested those people who did that, who beat up the women. You remember the women were taken at that time to the CDF. He called for them, and we took them to him. He apologized on behalf of his force, of his, let's say, forces. Joint forces. He apologized. And he said, we are sorry, we are not going to do this. And then we vowed that this should not happen. And we agreed that way of doing it was to continue to engage the citizens, because this is a disease that has come. We didn't prepare for it. We have never done this before. This is a new situation of such a magnitude, humongous situation. How do we deal with it? And then after that, after we are being open, after we criticized ourselves, after we decided to go, even senior officers, I would go on the street. I was given Entebbe, Kampala road to keep on going there, monitor what was going there, and that kind of thing. By the time we finished, our own forces were helping people, victims of COVID-19, and I can tell you that we played a big part in making sure that we solved that problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is something to celebrate about.
Yes.
Let me just go back to the aspect of discipline that you mentioned. We've seen men in uniform do crazy, bad things. You remember the Kiza Besigye incident where one officer hit the glass of the can, sprayed him in his face. You remember Afande Abaine, who shot at Ashraf during the elections, the journalists. You remember how police officers mistreat the opposition in their different constituencies. It is actually, for lack of a better word, to borrow your word, indiscipline. I don't know, would you consider that as indiscipline? And when you were in the force, did you see that the people who led who committed these atrocities were brought before the police disciplinary committee and action taken at that time?
I was actually the Pilato of the police, if you remember. I was the chairman of the Police
Standards Unit.
Discipline, yes, appeals court, the highest court in the police. I chaired that court for more than 10 years, if not 20.
Wow.
Yes. And I was a member of it, I think from 1990, from 2002, 2001. I was a member of that court when I was a superintendent of police, heading community policing from 2001. Now, around maybe 2006, I became the chairman of that court until when I retired. So I can testify and tell you that all those people were charged. They were charged. Maybe not to say all, there could be some that maybe for one reason or the other were not charged, but as far as I'm concerned, people who committed those kind of, indiscipline, were charged either in courts of law, magistrate courts and the high court. I know many police officers who were going there. There are those who still have their cases in courts of law, but also in our own disciplinary courts, unit courts, and then the other courts. So up to where I was seated, and we did our job. And I can tell you, there is no week that would not be sitting. Yes, that tells you how serious that force is in trying to instill discipline. Probably my own reservation is about after you have made your pronouncements over this, what is the final disposal? Probably, I know they are watching me. I say this is where we need to improve. If you say so and so did this, and the Court of Appeal has agreed with the lower courts that somebody should suffer a demotion. If you are superintendent, you have been demoted to assistant superintendent. And this is 5 years ago. Why should somebody still be putting on superintendent of police? If it was not approved by the police authority, let us know so that we know that police authority looked at the way you handled this matter and you didn't approve of that punishment. So it negates the whole point of discipline, instilling discipline. People know that you did this and you were taken to court and you were recommended for a demotion. For God's sake, let the demotion take effect, or if it didn't, let it be announced that there was this. But you finish 5 years and there's no pronouncement over it, and the officer still keeps that. So people are going to believe that probably you are not serious about the discipline. For me, that's where, not everyone, but there are some few cases, they are there, and they need to be sorted out so that people can regain the trust within the institution.
Maybe it's a breakdown of systems.
Well, I don't know, because that is something that actually in UPDF, if you have been given a punishment in the military court, in the court martial, and they say discipline, somebody marches there, salutes, and takes off your ranks. There and then. Yeah, but for us, the process goes to the police authority. Police authority will be on the order paper, and I don't know when, and 1 year, and 2 years, and 3 years. No.
Afande, you now, after serving for over 30 years in the police, you retired. Do you think you leave behind the police a changed police with the vision that you started 30 years ago in 1989 when you were beginning? You had a vision and mission. Okay, I'm going to serve, but by the time I leave, I want to leave behind a changed police. What are your hits and misses?
I can say without a doubt that for me, what I wanted was to be part of that police that is cherished by citizens, approved by government, and loved by the people who serve that institution. You serve with your head high. You want to go somewhere and people say, yes, this is Mr. Kasingye, police officer. You come and I'm not saying people should stand up, but they respect you and they stand up, and then you sit, they sit, including people who are even bigger than you in status. For me, they are not doing it to me. They are honoring the institution. Who wouldn't want to serve in an institution like that? Who? I have ever been a junior officer. You sit in a taxi in uniform and you reach where you are. Somebody picked me from, I jumped into a taxi from Barara. I had my uniform. My sister was sick, so I went to Barara Hospital. And after that, I jumped into a taxi from the park and brought me to Kampala. Around Olkaya, the conductor said, Muzuweres. And I picked my money. I think it was like maybe 5,000 at that time. It was very little money. And I picked it and he said, no. The driver has told me I should not pick money from you. I said, why? He said, no. When we reached Kampala, instead of, actually it is the driver who said it was like nice driving me. I said, do you know me? He said, no, you're in a police uniform. And it was not that maybe he wanted me to posture there and if he stopped, because nobody stopped us. There wasn't these video as we know them. His car was okay. So for me, my vision therefore was to see me serve that. During our time, you would change units, even if you wanted after 6 months. If I wanted traffic, I would request to join traffic. I would put it in there used to be forms, annual, I think they are called annual, there are annual forms where you have to fill, okay? And if you said, I want to join traffic, and another year you say you want to join traffic, they will say, this man wants to join traffic, put him in traffic. I saw this, okay? And messages would come, those who want to join CID, please. I never applied in any of those. In Chosen, I explicitly describe how I was chosen to to start community policing program. And then I joined. I never asked to join. And when I joined, I became so convinced that that is the right way to go, community policing. So, Solomon, I can say, yes, after retiring, I look back and I say, we did this job. People now understand. By the way, let me tell you something. Even when people speak out against excesses in the police, it is as a result of that awareness that you can speak out. Generally, Uganda would reach a stage like we are, where everybody would speak out, where everyone would talk without fear or favor. But I can tell you, police officers have gone to village meetings and people have stood up to their face and say, you have done this, we cannot accept. You are going to get that because of the program that we decided to do. And that And that is to go sensitize the people, listen to them. Even, by the way, we taught them about the basic law. When do you arrest? When do you detain? When you do this? A police officer should be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. That, to me, was like enforcing the communities in order to make sure that they improve the way they should be policed. So I am happy from that front.
Afande, now that you are retired, how is retirement for you?
It's good. You need to make it good. If you want a good retirement, it starts with you and it starts with the mind. So the mindset must be right. If you go with a bad mindset, if you listen to the environment so much, then you will not have a good retirement. It's the day you retire that you will be told all along you were bad. It's the day you retire that you will be told that all along you are not a performer. It's the day that you retire that even those you thought were friends and you were eating together and you were speaking to each other, and when you call, they will not pick your call. It's a day. It's a day that you see so many things that you didn't. With the right mindset, that's noise. That's noise. People will come and say, so and so said this, so and so said this, so and so said tumonye, so and so said all these things. You reach a point and you say, I know, don't tell me. Because if you tell me twice and said, no, this information I've already got. No, don't worry, you do your work. Don't worry about me. I'm okay, I'm in good hands. You stop the noise. Stop. And you concentrate on what you should be doing. You have a family to feed. You have your own to take care of yourself. There are so many things around you that you want to do. And you're not going to do them with a bad attitude. So you must quickly then ask yourself, here I am, it's me. There's someone who even never went P1, who came from the villages where we come from, never went P1, but he has a shop in Chikubo, he's driving, and he goes to China wherever he wants. Now you with master's degrees and PhDs, and you have already reached Assistant Inspector General, then you retire, you go to town and you look haggard. You have no program, you have no sense of direction. How? So go and come up with something. People want to see ideas. People are not going to do you a favor. There is no organization that is going to do you a favor. That you people, I worked for you, how come you see me, you don't want to employ me? Who's going to do that? People are employed because of what is expected out of them. You must show that you can do something, isn't it? So with the right mindset, then you can go and begin to touch base with different people, and people see what you can do. And I think that is something I did. But I first burnt days and nights. I burnt the midnight candle and told the people who I am. And I wrote Chosen, 384 pages. And for me, it is fulfilling.
Yeah. In your series on unpopular opinion on Twitter, you sort of speak out on so many things, but one of the things that caught most of our attention was retirement. And you advised people that to work hard, invest, because there will be a return on that investment. I want you to speak to people in their early 20s who you mentioned, and 30s and 40s, to prepare for retirement. I think they need to listen this from you. Yeah. They must have read it, but when I hosted you, I thought it would be an opportunity for me to ask you this. Yeah. What did you mean with that?
What I meant is that, look, I was there. I got some money. I would travel out of the country and maybe my per diem I save. I come back with it. But I would never save it. Okay? I would be paid a salary. I would be paid an allowance. I would be paid an operational allowance for doing this and that. I had a car. I never bought fuel. If I wanted to lost a relative, I just ask and say, please give me some fuel. I've lost a relative. Say, okay, you go and pick it from somewhere. So at the end of my term, and I'm going home, so the question was, Kasingye, what do you have? Which business are you going into that you yourself set up? None. And very many people here think, oh, this is a very rich man, this is whatever. I struggled. I struggled for 1.5 years for the first 6 months, 7 months, I struggled. Solomon, I'm not ashamed to tell you that I even had a vehicle run out of fuel. Me driving in Kampala. Yes, it happened. So that's why I began to understand what we were told when we were at our workplaces. You are about to retire, don't drive a big car, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. So here I am there, and so what? You start and leave it, and you understand what retirement means. Number one, every young person must know that where you have an entry, there is an exit. Anyone who is employed, if you are in the police right now, you are laughing at somebody who retired yesterday. You heard there was a planned, they were saying goodbye to people who had clocked 60 yesterday, right? And some must be saying, oh, so and so, it's good he has gone. Look, wake up. You have worked for 5 years. You still think you have 30 years to come. But I want to tell you, if you don't start planning right now, the 30 years would be wasted that you will be working for. Every small money that you get means something. I didn't know this. Yes, I don't have a regular job. I've started a company which has not started giving me dividends. I need 2 years to be able to break even. So everything must go back. But I must drive a car, and I must still keep the things that I used to do when I was in office in my home. If I was eating breakfast, we are not going to stay hungry. There must be breakfast there. So you remember, on my unpopular opinion, I said, can you hustle and get 100K? People started saying, oh, we are tired of, what are they called? Motivational speakers. I found that you have become a motivational speaker. You know why? Because I would go and get 100,000 in a day, and that would mean a world to me. Number two, I said, out of everything I get, I'm going to put something in my bank account. I'm telling you the truth. I get my phone and send 50,000 to my account. If I have sold 4 chosen books, that is 200,000. Each book is 50,000. And I get it on my phone, because most pay me on my phone. Or if a bookshop sold 20 copies, they will send the money on my phone. I will send that money through internet banking to my bank. And I calculate and say, this, I need 50,000 for maybe 2 days. I need to buy food and put it there. 200, it goes in the bank. This is what young people need to do. That is number one. Number two, they must realize that when you go for retirement, the most important thing is what is called a cash flow. Somebody is going to get sick, you need something, you reach somewhere, you need to buy a hanky, you need to do this. You must have some money flowing. Where is this money flowing? You must do what we call hustle. I see it on X, because we talk about hustle. You must have something that brings in money. Here, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I can assure you that right around you, there is something that you can do that will give you some money. Never say, I can't do this. Do it, it will bring some money. Save that money. It is important. Some people say, what do we save? You can also, by the way, decide to say, I think I'm going to stop that because I pay a lot of money. I was doing that. Let me stop that. At the end of the day, how much money have you saved? And you can start building on that and make something big. Many people say that it is motivation, but I've seen it. I have retired and come from nothing. I'm stabilizing. Right now, I'm stabilizing. I've reached a point where I used to ask somebody to put some fuel in my car. Okay? I have a full car, a full tank. If it reduces a bit, I add on. So all the time I want to drive a full tank. So we must plan. And if you think you are not going to retire, anything can happen and you retire and you leave work. So when you leave work, what next? You are working here at AIIJ. But the following week, you are out of the job. Maybe it was not your own situation. What are you going to do? So we need to think in terms of what we can do. You save some money, invest it wisely, and then you are not going to have a huge problem. Yes, that is. But the whole thing is about the right state of mind. You get me? The right state of mind. If I was going to, I'm sorry to use the church. I'm a church man. Yes. If I went to the church and they say, no, we are building this and we want to do this, and you used to pay 500,000, don't be ashamed telling them you have 50,000. I have gone to wedding meetings and people, somebody says, 1 million, 2 million. Don't be ashamed to tell them you have 200,000. It's okay. Those who don't understand, I went somewhere and I said, isn't that Kasingye? I had said 500,000 and somebody said, you, Ogut Kasingye. I said, yes. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what people are saying. And there's something I have seen. Maybe because I'm doing it. I think we don't think about, in Uganda, we think about doing something myself. We've never synergized, we've never looked at the power around setting something and having people to do something. As we've had so many people retire, isn't it? And they want to do something personally. People should see me doing something as a person. It is going to take you long. Come out, just call 2 or 3 friends and say, can we do this together? And it has, and it can do miracles.
Wow. Yes. Afande, as we wrap up, what does the future look like for you?
Solomon, I can tell you it looks great. It looks great. The most important thing is about your health. You haven't reached 60, but it's not long that I clock 60. And once you reach there, you begin to feel your body is no longer what you were 20 years ago. If they gave you an axe to split firewood, 5 minutes you have, but now you do like this and you say, you people, you understand what I'm saying. The body changes. We need to look after myself. That future holds for me. I want to stay healthy. That is number 1. Number 2, I want to continue exhibiting the same traits that I have. I think it is going to make my future well. If you respect people, be humble, tori wa kitalo, you know, if you had friends, be with friends. Somebody was asking me, we thought you were on Twitter because you were the police officer. Lwaki oli ku Twitter? Okadi eno kadi lwaki okyali ku Twitter? Be with people. Talk with them. Get ideas. Whether on social media or not, people think social media has both. If you know what you want from social media, it will put you up there. If you don't know what you want, if you think you are going there and kuba abantu, you find a young person the whole day anonya Kasingye kamukube gundi katumukube gundi katumukube. He's making money oli mukuba okuba. So I want to make sure that I stay that relevant. But lastly, I still think I can be part of the rebuilding of this country. The future of this country can also be achieved by each and everybody at whatever age until when you leave this earth. Anybody should do whatever they can to contribute to the development of this country. That future, Solomon, you are telling me, is a future that I am still thinking of also having something, not journalism, because you are a journalist, maybe a consultancy, a big consultancy in terms of, security issues and, a big consultancy with people around me, and we are all doing something, and we are being called to Nigeria to go and give speeches, and there is an African Union meeting on peace and security in Addis Ababa, and then they are calling this consultancy in Uganda, started by Asan Kasingye, but this time it is not Kasingye, it is called something, and I am there. I want to see myself. Someone, I don't want, you cannot put Kasingye in a bottle and you close him. No, the future is that we must at all times be able to contribute something, to continue thinking, to continue researching, to continue indulging people, to continue social networking, and after that, then you can say, when the time comes, I've done something for my country.
Well, I've been speaking to Assistant Inspector General of Police, retired, Afande Asan Kasingye, on everything policing and also retirement. I'm Solomon Serwanja, and this is The Hard Questions.